The void shuddered. A thunderclap of magnetic force ripped through the silence as the Iron Resolve's railgun discharged its payload. The slug, dense, needle-long, accelerated to near relativistic speed, crossed the distance in less than a heartbeat. On the Kareth flagship's observation deck, High Predator Varek watched with smug certainty. His living warship, bred with bone armor thicker than city walls, had never been pierced in battle. Entire fleets had shattered against its hide. Until now. The slug punched clean through the beast's frontal plating, burrowing through layers of regenerative tissue, rupturing neural cores, and exiting with a geyser of bioluminescent ichor. The ship beast convulsed, its death scream echoing through every psychic relay on the battlefield. Varek's smugness melted into disbelief as alarms howled and his command chamber fractured under decompression. His last words before the void claimed him. Impossible! Vermin cannot hunt the hunters. The Kareth flagship imploded in a blossom of light and flesh. On the Iron Resolve, silence reigned for half a second before the bridge erupted in restrained, professional awe. Commander Elias Vorn didn't smile. His steel-gray eyes tracked the tactical display, watching the predators remain scatter into the void. To his crew, it was victory. To him, it was only the first step. Reload Railgun 2, Elias ordered, voice calm, unshaken. Target the next beast. Lieutenant Marin, weapons officer, exhaled slowly. Sir, that was their alpha ship. We just showed them they can bleed. Elias cut in. And if they can bleed, they can die. Keep focus. Around him, the crew straightened, pride simmering beneath discipline. They were colonist children, soldiers who had grown up with Kareth raids haunting their skies. Today, they'd seen the myth of Kareth invincibility shattered in one railgun shot. A communication alert flashed red. Enemy broadcast. Elias gestured, and the holographic projection shimmered to life. High Predator Zyral's face emerged, scaled, ridged, eyes like molten gold. Unlike Varek, this one was older, sharper. His voice rumbled through the bridge like thunder. Human! The word was spat with venom. You desecrate the Dominion with trickery. Rail projectiles? Primate toys. Do you believe this victory means anything? Elias met the alien's gaze without flinching. It means your era is over. Zyral's ridges flared in rage. You dare address me as equal? You are prey. Always prey. The Kareth are hunters eternal. Funny, Elias said, tone level. Because from where I'm standing, you're the one losing ships. The channel cut abruptly, leaving behind a silence heavier than any shout. Marin broke it with a grin she tried to suppress. Sir, you made him angry. That was the point, Elias replied. His gaze swept across the bridge crew, each one alert, hungry for more. Mark this moment. The galaxy's watching. The Kareth called themselves Alphas for centuries. From today, they'll remember humanity as the hunters. The next salvo fired. Another Kareth ship beast screamed across the psychic net before silence consumed it. But Elias knew this was only the beginning. He'd hunted predators before, cornering them always made them lash out. And Zyral, he could already sense, would not rest until humanity was torn from the stars. For Elias Vorn, that was fine. Humanity had never backed down from a fight. And now, they had railguns. The Kareth Dominion's War Council convened within the cavernous living hall of a Leviathan, their oldest and most sacred war beast. Its ribcage formed the vaulted chamber, bone arches slick with ichor, veins pulsing faintly beneath the walls. Around the circular dais, warlords bared their fangs in agitation, voices overlapping in a chorus of rage. They cracked Varek's beast as if it were hatchling shell, snarled one. His mandibles dripped with bile. A single human shot destroyed what entire fleets could not. Railguns? Hissed another, his voice laced with contempt. Primitive toys that strike too fast for armor to heal. A fluke, nothing more. High Predator Zyral let them snarl. He remained still, looming at the center. His golden eyes scanned each warlord, measuring them. They were furious, yes, but beneath their rage was something unfamiliar to Kareth: fear. When silence finally clawed its way back into the chamber, Zyro spoke. "You call it a fluke," he rumbled. "Yet I see prey daring to bare fangs at hunters. I see myths shattered in the void. The galaxy whispers already." He leaned forward, claws flexing against the bone floor. "If we allow this spark to spread, the Dominion will not be feared. It will be mocked." The warlords growled, restless. None dared contradict him. "We will not let primates decide our fate," Zyro continued. "We will gather our armadas. Every beast, every spawn, every fang. Humanity will drown in the swarm." A ripple of approval echoed. But even as warlords roared assent, Zyro's thoughts remained fixed on one image: the human commander's face. Calm. Unflinching. A prey creature should have cowered before Kareth's fury. Yet this Elias had stared back at him as though he were the predator. That insolence burned hotter than any railgun. Zyro swore he would carve the man's heart out himself. Far from the Leviathan Council, aboard the Iron Resolve, Elias studied hollow projections of the battle. The Kareth had withdrawn, but their retreat was no surrender. He knew the predators too well. "Report," Elias said. Lieutenant Marin tapped through tactical overlays. "Enemy losses confirmed: 3 war beasts destroyed, 2 crippled. Our side, minimal hull stress, no fatalities." She glanced up, almost disbelieving. "Sir, this shouldn't be possible." "Which is why they'll be back," Elias replied. His voice carried no triumph, only cold calculation. "And next time, they won't underestimate us." Across the table, Chief Engineer Kaido brushed soot from his uniform sleeve. "The railguns performed as designed, Commander. But rate of fire remains our bottleneck. The Kareth move fast when pressed. Against a swarm, we'll be overwhelmed before we can reload." "Solutions?" Elias asked. "Faster capacitors," Kaido answered. "I can push the coils harder, but it'll strain the whole frame." "Do it," Elias ordered without hesitation. "If the ship breaks before we do, it's worth it." The crew exchanged glances. To Elias, there was no other option. Humanity was cornered prey, and cornered prey survived by biting harder. The door hissed open. An intelligence officer strode in, holding a datapad. "Commander. Intercepted chatter confirms the Kareth are calling their warlords to a central council. Looks like they're rallying." Elias's jaw tightened. "Then we hit them before they finish gathering." Ren frowned. "Sir, they outnumber us 100 to 1. Even with railguns." "Fear keeps empires alive," Elias interrupted. "And fear is what we deal in now. We can't fight them fleet for fleet. But if we strike their alphas, if we make them bleed where the whole galaxy can see, others will realize the Kareth aren't invincible." The bridge fell silent. His officers knew he wasn't just talking about tactics. He was talking about survival itself. The ambush unfolded 3 days later on the edge of a red dwarf system. The Kareth flotilla, still gathering for Zyro's war council, stretched across the void, 6 warbeasts, each the size of a Terran city. Their hulls pulsed with bioluminescent veins, psychic resonance thrumming between them like a hunting pack. The Iron Resolve drifted in the shadow of an asteroid, reactors dimmed, weapons primed. Elias stood at the command dais, eyes fixed on the approaching predators. "Target priority," he ordered. "Leader beasts first. Take their spine, and the pack scatters." Marin's fingers danced across controls. "Railguns charging." The first shot thundered through the void. The slug crossed the gulf and tore into the leader's flank. Bones splintered. Flesh burst. The warbeast howled across the psychic net. Its kin faltered, their formation breaking. "Second shot," Elias commanded. Another thunderclap. Another hole punched through Kareth flesh. The predators reeled, confusion rippling through their psychic bond. These were not battles they understood. Prey should run. Prey should scatter. But here was prey attacking with merciless precision. The third shot crippled the leader beast entirely. Its luminous eyes dimmed, and the massive body drifted lifeless. The remaining warbeasts turned in chaos. "Withdraw," Elias ordered. "Leave survivors. They'll carry the story for us." The iron resolve vanished into faster-than-light slip space, leaving behind devastation and terror. On the Leviathan council chamber, news arrived like a plague. Another Kareth flotilla annihilated, by the same human ship. The warlords raged, voices echoing through bone and ichor, but beneath their fury was something deeper. Zyro rose, his body towering above them. "Enough," he thundered. "These primates mock us because we fight them as equals. No more. We unleash the warbeasts of old. Spawn bred for planets, not stars. Humanity will be crushed under claw and fang. Let them rail their guns, they cannot stop the tide." He leaned over the dais, teeth bared. "And I will kill their commander myself." Back aboard the Iron Resolve, Elias stared at the starfield. His crew buzzed with quiet pride after the ambush, but he allowed himself no illusions. The Kareth would adapt. They always did. And when they came back, it would not just be with fleets. "They're going to bring something worse," Elias muttered. Marin heard him and asked, "Worse than what we've already faced?" Elias's eyes never left the void. "They'll bring the hunt to our worlds." The first Kareth warbeast landed on Hades Prime with the fury of a falling mountain. The colony's atmosphere shook as the bioengineered predator tore into the surface, claws carving furrows through steel and stone. It moved on 6 legs, armored hide glistening with acidic slime, each step heavy enough to crack the colony's shield domes. Civilians scattered, alarms wailed, and the defenders braced for annihilation. For centuries, Kareth ground beasts had ended rebellions this way, unstoppable, living siege engines bred for terror. No species had ever faced them in open combat and survived. Until now. From the shadows of the colony's defense lines, Terran soldiers rolled out something new: portable rail emplacements. Sleek barrels locked into magnetic mounts, their coils glowing faintly as engineers whispered final checks. The first gunner, a corporal barely 20, breathed through gritted teeth as he aligned the sights. "Target lock," he whispered. "Fire," came the reply. The rail slug screamed through the air, tearing into the beast's plated chest. For a moment, it kept moving, momentum carrying it forward. Then its chest ruptured, ichor spraying like rain. The warbeast's scream rattled the colony's steel bones before it toppled, shaking the ground with its fall. Cheers erupted from the defenders. On the orbiting Iron Resolve, Elias Vorn watched the battle feed. His jaw stayed firm, but his crew could see the flicker of satisfaction in his eyes. "They're learning," Elias murmured. "Every soldier down there now knows the truth. Kareth can die." Lieutenant Marin leaned forward, voice taut with restrained pride. "Sir, with enough portable rails, ground assaults may actually become winnable." "They're already winnable," Elias said. "Now they're survivable." Cyril's fury echoed across the psychic network as the news reached him. The Kareth had always ruled by inevitability. The sight of a ground beast alone was enough to shatter resistance. But humanity did not scatter. They had looked upon the Dominion's deadliest hounds and slain them. He gathered his inner circle in a chamber thick with pheromones of rage. "They drag prey weapons into the dirt," Cyril snarled, claws raking the living wall. "Railguns are for void combat, not soil. They twist tools into weapons as though the universe itself bends for them. Then we starve them," hissed a subordinate. "Cut their colonies, deny their forges." "No," Cyril's eyes blazed. "If we retreat into strategy, we admit weakness. The galaxy watches. If the hunters hesitate, the pack dissolves. No, we strike harder. We send more beasts. Entire broods. Let the humans choke on carcasses." But even as he roared, a seed of unease gnawed at him. Humans had reversed the hunt. They had turned terror into defiance. And that, he realized, was more dangerous than their railguns. The reversal began small, Kareth patrols vanishing on fringe routes. Scouts reporting empty space, then silence. Entire beasts drifting lifeless, punctured by slugs that came from nowhere. Elias orchestrated it all. From the bridge of the Iron Resolve, he mapped Kareth hunting lanes, then flipped them into ambush zones. Where once Kareth stalked prey, now they were the quarry. Status? Elias asked quietly as another patrol's wreckage faded from sensors. Ren, the intelligence officer, grinned thinly. Another beast gone, Commander. Survivors broadcasting distress. Local colonies are listening. Good, Elias said. Let the galaxy hear them scream. Kaido, the engineer, gave a rare chuckle. Feels strange, doesn't it? Not running anymore. Elias's gaze stayed locked on the void. Strange is fine. As long as we keep hunting. 3 weeks later, the galaxy trembled with whispers. Species once enslaved by the Kareth began murmuring rebellion. Traders circulated recordings of rail slugs tearing through invincible hides. Children on backwater worlds imitated human soldiers, pretending to fire invisible rifles at imaginary predators. For the first time in centuries, the Kareth aura of fear cracked. Elias knew this wasn't victory. Not yet. But it was momentum. Humanity had planted doubt where none had existed before, and doubt spread faster than any weapon. Zyro felt it. He felt the Dominion fraying at the edges. His warlords bickered more openly now, questioning, hesitating. And through it all, the human's calm face haunted him. He summoned his seers, demanding visions. They writhed in agony, their minds scraping the future. We see fire, they hissed. We see prey with predator's teeth. We see the end of Kareth. Zyro crushed one beneath his claws. Lies. The Kareth do not end. We end others. But as ichor seeped into the chamber floor, even he tasted the bitter tang of doubt. Back aboard the Iron Resolve, Elias convened his officers. We've bloodied them, he began. But don't mistake fear for defeat. Zyro won't break. He'll throw everything at us, even if it tears his dominion apart. Ren leaned forward. So what's our play, Commander? Elias's voice was cold, decisive. We break him first. We stop fighting the Kareth as a whole. We cut the head. Without Zyro, the Dominion tears itself apart. Silence settled. The risk was obvious. Striking the High Predator directly was suicide. But in the eyes of his crew, no one flinched. They had seen railguns turn myths into corpses. Then we hunt Zyro, Marin said, breaking the silence. A slow nod passed through the room. The hunters had become the hunted. And now, humanity was setting its sights on the apex predator himself. The Kareth Dominion was no longer silent in its dominance. The void carried a different sound now, panic. Intercepted transmissions filled the Iron Resolve's war room, voices once dripping with arrogance now crackling with disbelief. They strike from shadows. Rail slugs tore through 2 more war beasts. No pattern, no warning, the humans vanish before we strike back. Elias stood at the center of it all, the fractured reports painting exactly the picture he wanted. The Kareth weren't an unstoppable tide anymore. They were a scattered pack, bleeding in the void. Play it again, Elias ordered. Ren tapped a command. A distorted Kareth voice shrieked across the speakers. This is Patrol Fong 7. We are under attack, slugs everywhere, hull breach, hull. The signal ended in static. The crew listened in silence. Elias's eyes narrowed. Every time they send out scouts, they don't come back. Word spreads. Their hunters are afraid to hunt. Lieutenant Marin smirked. So we've turned the galaxy's apex predators into prey. Not yet, Elias said. His voice stayed calm, but his gaze was hard steel. Fear doesn't last if their leader holds the line. Zyro's the spine of the Dominion. Break him, the whole beast falls. On the other side of the galaxy, Zyro Kareth towered in his war chamber. His claws dug deep furrows into the bone dais as reports mounted before him. Warlords knelt in shame, heads bowed, unable to explain the losses. You let primates cripple patrols like hatchlings, Zyro snarled. You let them vanish into shadows as though the stars themselves shield them. His golden eyes burned, his voice shaking the chamber. And you think me blind to the rot spreading through our ranks? The warlords flinched but said nothing. Zyro bared his teeth. The galaxy thinks humanity hunts us. They whisper rebellion. They dare laugh at Kareth. His tone dropped to a hiss, deadly calm. That ends now. We will find their commander. I will tear Elias Vorn apart before their fleets. But beneath his fury, doubt gnawed. For the first time in centuries, he wasn't certain how. The duel began not with fleets, but with words. Days later, Elias's crew intercepted a direct transmission routed through Kareth's psychic relays. Against protocol, Elias ordered it displayed. The hologram shimmered, forming the hulking frame of Zyro himself. The Kareth leader filled the projection with raw menace, eyes glowing like twin suns. Human, Zyro growled. I know your name now. Elias Vorn. You hide behind shadows, you gnaw at ankles, but prey cannot win wars. Do you think your toys make you hunters? Elias folded his hands behind his back, calm as if addressing a subordinate. I think the bodies of your war beasts floating through space prove it well enough. A ripple of rage crossed Zyro's features. One ship, one commander, you think you can unmake the Kareth? We are a Dominion Eternal. Eternal? Elias let the word linger. Funny. From where I stand, your warlords are already doubting you. They're bleeding, Zyro. And you? You're shouting into empty space because one human ship has you rattled. Gasps rippled across the Iron Resolve's bridge at Elias's audacity, but his voice never rose, never cracked. He stayed level, each word a blade aimed at Zyro's pride. Zyro leaned forward, snarling so hard the projection warped. I will find you, Elias Vorn. And when I do, I'll show your people what happens when prey forgets its place. The transmission cut with a snap. Elias turned to his crew. And now he's playing our game. The strategy shifted. Elias began striking where he knew Zyro would hear about it first: supply beasts, relay nests, even psychic nodes. Each kill was surgical, recorded, then released into the void for every species to see. Rumors spread like wildfire. Children on frontier stations whispered the name, Elias Vorn, as though it were a curse to Kareth. Inside the Dominion, cracks widened. Warlords muttered behind closed doors. Some questioned Zyro's leadership. Others hesitated to obey orders at all. The Predator's aura was breaking. But victory didn't come without cost. During an ambush near the Veil Nebula, the Iron Resolve barely escaped a Kareth trap. The railguns crippled two beasts, but a third rammed them, gouging through the ship's flank before its heart finally burst. The crew was thrown from their stations, alarms howling as atmosphere vented. Kaido shouted over the chaos. Reactor shieldings holding by threads! Seal the breach! Elias barked, gripping a rail for balance. They limped away on minimal power, slipping into the dark between stars. For days the ship floated half-dead, crew patching wounds with sweat and blood. But even in their battered state, they sent out the recordings of Kareth carcasses drifting in space. The message was clear: humans bleed, but they fight. And when they fight, predators fall. In the Dominion's Leviathan throne chamber, Zyro felt the walls closing. They will not stop, hissed one warlord. Already, some of our thralls rebel. Elias Vorn haunts us, said another. His name spreads faster than our fear. Zyro's claws slammed the floor. Enough! One man, one ship, does not unmake the Kareth. But even as he roared, the doubt in his warlord's eyes told him the truth. They no longer feared him as much as they feared the human commander. And that was unforgivable. Aboard the Iron Resolve, the repairs neared completion. Elias gathered his crew. We've weakened them, he said, his voice even but carrying the weight of what came next. But fear alone won't topple the Dominion. To break an empire, you break its symbol. Zyro is that symbol. Ren's eyes narrowed. You're saying we go after him directly. I'm saying we end this war with one strike, Elias answered. We take the fight to Zyro himself. Silence stretched as the crew absorbed the enormity of it. To face the High Predator was to dive headfirst into the jaws of the galaxy's most feared monster. Then Marin straightened. "Sir, if anyone can kill him, it's us." One by one, the others nodded. The crew had seen enough. They'd stopped being prey the day the railguns first fired. Elias looked out at the void, knowing Zyril was somewhere beyond those stars, waiting. "Then it's settled," he said quietly. "We hunt the Alpha." The battlefield above Kepler burned with wreckage. Broken hulls spun silently, their flames smothered by the vacuum of space. Humanity's fleet, though battered, held formation. On the flagship Resolute Dawn, Commander Elena Rourke stood unflinching as reports poured in. "Final Zarkath fleet dispersing. Their flagship is attempting warp," her tactical officer announced. Rourke narrowed her eyes. "No. Not after what they've done. Not after centuries of culling and conquest." She turned toward her weapons officer. "Rail batteries, lock on." Across the comms, Captain Deshmukh of the Iron Tide cut in. "Elena, if we do this, there's no going back. The Council will call it genocide." "They called it war first," Rourke replied, her voice iron. "And humanity finishes wars." The Resolute Dawn's railguns hummed. The magnetic coils gathered power, humming louder, vibrating through the ship. A streak of tungsten pierced the void, then another, and another. Each round traveled faster than the enemy's sensors could track. The Zarkath flagship exploded into shards, its reign of terror ending in a single silent flash. The bridge crew exhaled as if the galaxy itself had released a breath. But Elena didn't. She knew what came next. On the other side of the battlefield, Zarkath survivors scrambled. Their commander, Cravel, bruised and bloodied, hissed at the sight of human weapons tearing apart centuries of dominance. "Impossible. Primitive mammals, swinging metal slugs like clubs. How did they?" A younger officer stammered. "Commander, we should retreat. Nothing can stop there." "Railguns?" Cravel spat, the word like poison. He understood at last. The predators had become prey. His pride broke in silence as the fleet scattered. Back on Earth, the United Council convened in a chamber packed with tension. Screens broadcast images of smoldering Zarkath wreckage. Politicians argued, diplomats panicked. Humanity had done the unthinkable, destroyed the alphas of the stars. "They'll call us monsters," one delegate whispered. "They'll call us tyrants," another said. But an older general leaned forward. "No. They'll call us what we are, survivors. Builders. Hunters who learn to out-hunt the hunters." The chamber fell quiet. A week later, Elena addressed the galaxy from orbit over Earth. The broadcast carried across every comm network. Her uniform bore scorch marks from battle, her eyes still sharp. "This message is for all who watched as the Alphas ruled unchecked," she began. "For centuries, they preyed on you. They fed on your fear. They told you resistance was impossible. But you forgot one truth: predators are only alphas until something stronger rises." She leaned closer, her voice dropping into a controlled growl. "Humanity is that something stronger." Billions watched in silence. Some species wept. Others cheered. Many trembled. Later, in the quiet of her cabin, Elena finally let the weight settle. She replayed fragments of battle, the first railgun strikes, the silence after. She thought of those who died, of the planets enslaved, of the children who would now grow without fear of culling. Her comm buzzed. A message from Captain Deshmukh. "You ended them. Do you regret it?"